Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is Oscar Bevis for IFLTV Raven. Good to see you as always. How are we?
Yeah, good to see you, Oscar. Thanks for having me on today. How's things?
Good, good. Always good to get you on IFL. We've got a couple of things to talk about, of course.
Yeah.
I know you've been busy with physio. Are you close to being at full tilt now and ready to go?
Yeah, a few more bits to do. It's just like last little bit now, a few weeks physio and bits and bobs, see how we go. And, I can get back to training now without using my injured body part. But other than that, it'd be really good to get back to a bit more cardio again and doing a bit more than I have been. No more leg day every day anymore.
When you say injured body part, is that because it's a secret?
Well, to be fair, people probably know about it now. I think a lot of people thought it was my hand, but like it wasn't my hand. I just little shoulder injury, minor injury, but just one of those that takes a little while to heal up, really.
I was just wondering if you was being secretive, so there were people in the boxing world who didn't find out. But when I spoke to you, you said this was your first proper break, like your first proper break from boxing, but you've been like in a consistent cycle of training and fighting for years.
Yeah, definitely. So in one sense, it's probably been, really good on my body, take a lot of that stress out of it, not, training it to, that point of fatigue and exhaustion pretty much every day, like I have been, like you say, for the last few years, like bar, a couple of weeks holiday here and there. But even then still been pretty active and things like that. So it's been nice to sort of relax a little bit, step back and enjoy bits of life and be busy doing, other life things. But I'm definitely ready to get back into the gym again full time and back to training and doing what I love and just what I enjoy doing every day, really.
It's mad because it's been your quietest year in the ring, and yet
Yeah.
probably the loudest your name's been around the sport.
Yeah.
You must love the fact you're being mentioned in and around meaningful fights.
100%. Yeah, that's what we always strived for at the beginning. We wanted to be in those meaningful fights, those big fights. So the fact that my name's been mentioned with, a few of the top people, a few of the people at the top and a few of the big up and comers as well is exactly what we want, because we want to be in those big fights, and that's what it's about, and that's what it takes to be, be the best and be considered one of the best.
Yeah, well, I think the fight we all want to see is, of course, the one with Skye Nicolson. Big weekend for her, grabbing that WBC title. Near enough clean sweeping Sarah Mahfood. What was your take on Skye's performance?
So I've only really seen the highlights. Obviously, I had a really busy weekend myself, so I have to catch up on the full fight at some point. But from the highlights, just very typical Skye performance. Stuck to her game plan, did what she had to do. It's not everyone's cup of tea. For a lot of fans, they don't find it super exciting and engaging. But I think for more boxing purists that appreciate the art of boxing, she just completely outboxed her opponent, and that's what she's good at doing. So she stuck to what she does best, basically, and it worked and paid off for her.
Did you see that result coming? Like when you thought about the fight before it happened, did you see kind of a boxing type performance and kind of a clean win?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think Sarah Mahfood's a boxer as well. She's not really a fighter. She likes to stand there and box and move in, move out. She doesn't move her head very much, and she's a good boxer. Skye was just better, and that's kind of what I would have predicted. Yeah, it was definitely on paper Skye's hardest opponent in terms of that. Sarah's, she's been a champion. She has also been in there with Amanda Serrano and stuff. But I think the reality is that, like everyone said, there's that kind of old crop of female fighters and champions that were there, and the new crop have sort of come in and sort of clean sweep them, really. And I think Sarah was sort of part of that kind of older crop, in terms of you got the new blood coming through and the hungry fighters coming through that have that bit more experience, coming from amateurs and stuff like that can hold you in really good stead. And I just think that really showed.
We saw some flashy moments. I don't know if you would have seen the clip that the Zone posted. I know there's one that a few people had a few things to say
Mhm.
about. She kind of got her arms down, almost laughing.
Yeah, I've
What do you make of
seen
that?
that. She definitely won't be doing that if she's in the ring with me,
That's the
for
response I
sure.
was waiting for. I was hoping you was going to say that.
I thought you were, Oscar. I thought I'd give you a little clickbait there. But no, she enjoyed herself. Like I say, she was out boxing her opponent. When you're out boxing, you're getting everything your way. You can relax and you can have fun. But with someone like me, you can't relax. You can't have fun because I'll be there. You know, I move very different to Sarah. I have a very different style. I'm not like I can box and I am a boxer, but I'm also a fighter and a box fighter, as some people say. And that kind of style is going to be very difficult, I think, for someone like Skye. You know, Skye's good at what she does well. So if I stand back like, you know, like her previous opponents have, you know, it would probably be a similar outcome, but that's not how I fight. That's not how I box. And I'm not the kind of person that stands back off the end of someone's jab and lets them pick me off all day. That's just not me. And it's not how I fight. And the movement that I've got is going to be really difficult for someone with that style. And that's why I think our fight actually makes a really interesting matchup, because it's two styles that will make an exciting fight. I think Skye's fights haven't been exciting and people have been flagging it off, saying that it's boring because she hasn't had someone in there at a higher caliber who can move just as well as her and better in other ways, and she moves better than me in other ways. You know, we each have our strengths. And I think it's going to be an exciting fight. And like I say, hopefully we make it happen. I'm the mandatory for it, so I'm pretty sure it will happen. And it deserves to be on a big stage. You know, both myself and Skye have worked ourselves up into these positions. It deserves to be on a big stage. It deserves to be on, you know, one of the 5v5s, Queensbury versus Matchroom shows, because that's where it should be. It's a world title at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, Eddie mentioned you. Skye mentioned Serrano. Obviously, you've just said there that it should be you fighting for the WBC world title. But we know what boxing's like.
Yep. Yeah, I say that all
Predictable,
along.
unpredictable is a perfect word to
It's
add. What
never
are the
a
steps
straight
now?
line.
Never. What are the steps now to get this on?
So obviously for me, I'm fighting in July time, and then there should be another 5v5 in London around sort of September time. So that would be when I want it to happen. And I know Eddie's mentioned that as well.
Can we rule out it being on a Saudi Arabian card just because of the climate? Do you think they're not really too invested in women's boxing? It seems in comparison to over here where we've had some of the biggest fights. So does the Wembley 5v5 that we're hearing about make a lot more sense than in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's easier to make that fight being at Wembley. Obviously, it's still part of all the Saudi stuff. You know, they've still got their involvement with it being Matchroom and Queensbury. So I think, like I say, in terms of politics and things like that, I think it's easier to make being in the UK rather than being in Saudi. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be made. Like I say, it deserves to be on a big stage, and you know, one of the later on the bill, because it will be an exciting fight. Be Skye's first exciting fight.
Eddie said that Steffi has been telling him you would go through Skye like I think a knife through hot butter was the phrase.
Yeah.
But I see Eddie's response was that everyone says that until they come up against her. Could it be that she
Yeah.
has that style that perhaps fighters or previous opponents have watched and kind of go, looks easy, and then they kind of underestimate it? And when you get in the ring, she's actually a lot better and cleaner and sharper than you thought. Could that be the case, you think?
What I think Eddie said basically is that she's very good at running away and pot shotting, is essentially what he said. You know, it isn't. I don't look at it and think it's easy. Of course not. I think anyone that looks at it and thinks it's easy to fight is silly, and you're underestimating that kind of style of fighting. Because someone that moves their feet very well in the large rings, it's difficult. You've got to work to get in range, to get inside of it, to get into where you want to be and not where they want you to be. It's one of them. It could be really exciting fight because you can see her in scenarios that she's not comfortable in. But then it can be that boring fight if you're against someone that can't move, where you're just where you want them. So why do something? You know, why fix what ain't broken? Essentially, is what I think. You know, Skye says, "Oh, I've been in a fight, you've seen me come forward," but every fight she's not done that. It's been the same, but she hasn't had a need to do that, I don't think. So, it's very different depending on who you're against, for sure.
Wall Street Memes Casino
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.